Welcome into another edition of the Leadership Library, hosted by CEO and author Rocky Romanella. Rocky is the author of the book, Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership, and has over 40 years of business experience as a prominent member of the UPS Supply Chain Solutions team, as well as the CEO of Unitech Global Services. So sit back, grab your notebook, and take a seat, and get ready for this edition of the Leadership Library.
Welcome to the Leadership Library podcast. I am your host, Rocky Romanella, and this is the beginning of Season 8. With Season 8 begins a lot of new episodes. Before we get into my first episode called My Lunch Date, I would like to just take care of a few housekeeping items. And it's also year 2 for Centenary Baseball, and my producer, Andrew Romanella, is the head coach there at Centenary on his second year. So we wish Centenary College nothing but the best. If you're interested in following Centenary University, it's CENTENARY University at EDU, and you can follow Centenary College. University, I apologize. We've also gotten a lot of good feedback on our graphics, and if anyone's interested, Jane does the graphics for us, and she's at Design by Creatives, DESIGNBY Creatives, CREATIVES.com, and certainly she could help you out as well. So Season 8 begins with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. Start for Centenary year 2, head baseball coach, as well as Jane continue to do some great jobs in graphics. I would like to cover with you quickly, though, 2 of our episodes that had outstanding downloads and reviews. The first one was number 108. If you haven't gotten a chance to listen to it, Soft Skills for Great Results. We had over 3,000 downloads and some great reviews and commentaries from individuals who have reached out to me. But our number 1 podcast was The Feeling of Trust That Comes from Hope. Over 6,000 downloads, just a great episode and great feedback from everyone. We also had great reviews on Faith Can Move Mountains and many other episodes. So please, if you get an opportunity, please visit our library. We begin Season 8 with our My Lunch Date episode. So how did we get to this My Lunch Date episode? Well, the question's often asked, if you had the opportunity to have lunch with someone, who would that person be? And why would you pick that person? You see that in the newspaper a lot on a Sunday afternoon. You're reading the sports section, they're interviewing an athlete, and they're talking about who they would like to have lunch with. Or, you do a job interview, for example. It's one of the questions sometimes asked on a job interview. For me, the answer is simple. Now, many of you know I originally went to school to be a high school history teacher and a baseball coach. So my answer somewhat, evolves from that, who I, envision myself as. But George Washington would be the person I would love to have lunch with someday. And it's not for the obvious reasons because he was the first president. It's because some of the things that took place in George Washington's life and how he managed through that. George Washington only had a grade school education. At age 22, now think about this, right? We think of George Washington, first president, winner, great general Revolutionary War. Well, at 22 years old, Washington led a disastrous military skirmish that sparked a world war, which was the French and Indian War. So if you think about that for a second, he didn't start off, with all flowers and accolades and everybody saying, hey, that's going to be the next great general who's going to defeat the British, which, by the way, was a British general at that time. Right. So think about that for a second. Washington wasn't always a great general, but he was an excellent spy master. When you read a lot about him, he understood the value of a spy network. But I think more importantly, he understood the value of intelligence. He understood the value of knowledge. He understood the value of doing your homework, of understanding. And isn't that what great leaders do? But for me, it always came down to, what did you talk to them about at Valley Forge? When you had, they were weary, they had just come off a major campaign, and they marched into Valley Forge December 19th, 1777, tired and hungry. Yet they hung in there with them. And to me, that's something I would like to ask him. Like, what did you do? What did you say? How did you get them to want to stay and fight? For me, great leaders are those individuals that inspire people to do things they never thought they could do before, things that they could work through, take on responsibilities that they didn't see themselves taking on. That, to me, is the power of great leadership. And so that would be my question to George Washington. Not, did you have, hey, tell me about your false teeth? Not, hey, did you chop down a cherry tree? No, for me, it would be, what did you say to them at Valley Forge that motivated them, encouraged them, inspired them to continue on in spite of the lack of food, the harsh winter, maybe the lack of ammunition at that time, the fact that their opponent was the great British Empire. And so that would be the person I'd like to have lunch with. If you have an individual or a person or a group of people that you would love to have lunch with and like to share that with our group, please feel free to email me at rockyromanella@gmail.com or engage on the website. I get a lot of back and forth commentary and communication from people. Let me know who's that individual you would like to have lunch with. And by the way, if you would like to have lunch with the head coach of Centenary Baseball, let me know. I can arrange that for you as well. Thanks. And until we meet again, thank you for being part of the Leadership Library podcast.